The show starts in Portmore, a little town tucked away in the wilds of Alaska. Father Dan Carpenter, the priest of the town, is gathered with folks at the Chieftain pub, paying respects to Marty Hubbard, a construction member of the community. But things take a spooky turn when the atmosphere crackles with strange happenings like glasses acting up, lights flickering, and to everyone's surprise, Father Dan's glass of wine turns into blood. Then, things get even weirder when he feels something creepy crawling on his hand. When he looks down, it's a swarm of cockroaches crawling out from his skin. Just when he's about to stab them with a knife, Roman Mercer, a local man with the ability for seeing ghosts, rushes in. He rushes in just in time to stop Father Dan from doing anything drastic, and finds Marty's ghost standing behind Father Dan, causing all the chaos in the pub. 3 days earlier from the present scene, Roman is getting ready to leave the town. He swings by the church to bid Father Dan goodbye. Father Dan is busy chatting with the mayor of the town, Val, about the upcoming elections. Upon seeing Roman, Father Dan warmly extends his best wishes for the next chapter of his life. However, Val's indifferent response to Roman's departure leaves Father Dan feeling disappointed. In the next scene, as Roman waits at the bus stop, the townsfolk give him the side eye, calling him names. Moments later, Maggie, a girl from the same town, approaches him and shares her thoughts on his departure. She acknowledges that he is a remarkable individual with a unique gift, and claims that the locals are unable to understand him. She stands up for him, emphasizing the poor treatment he receives from the locals. Roman and Maggie get on the bus as the bus pulls up to the stop. Maggie urges Roman to reconsider, but he remains constant in his decision. While they chat, Mrs. Foon, one of the passengers, delivers Roman a terrified glance. Maggie decides to get off the bus as Roman decides to stay constant in his decision, prompting him to halt her. The other passengers on the bus turn to face him as he screams out her name, confused by his one-sided chat. Mrs. Foon feels a sudden breeze as Maggie gets off the bus, hinting at Maggie's ghostly presence. Suddenly, the bus driver feels a slight tremor beneath the road and sees a boy standing in the middle of the road. Reacting quickly, he swerves the steering wheel to avoid hitting the boy, only to realize the figure is a ghost. Despite his efforts, the bus skids off the cliff's edge and bursts into flames. Maggie reappears next to Roman, helping him regain consciousness and escape from the burning vehicle. Roman tries to rescue Mrs. Foon, but a spirit intervenes, pulling her away and thwarting his efforts. Somehow, Roman manages to crawl out just before the bus plunges off the cliff. As the sole survivor, Roman recounts the terrifying event to Sheriff Sam, who asks for a detailed account of the accident. Afterward, Sam offers Roman a ride to his mother's house until another bus arrives. Roman returns to his mother's house, which gives off spooky vibes. As he gets ready for dinner, Maggie appears unexpectedly, expressing her joy that he chose to stay in town for a while. Their conversation is brief, and Maggie vanishes, mentioning she needs to check on her dad. Finding nothing appetizing at his mother's, Roman heads to Maggie's father's pub, the Chieftain pub. Carla, the bartender, serves him some food and asks about his mother. Roman replies that they don't talk, so he's clueless about her whereabouts. While at the pub, Mrs. Foon's presence continues to discomfort him. The following day, Marty and other construction workers are seen working on a bridge. Just as they're about to take a break, Marty is suddenly attacked by unknown forces and thrown off the bridge, landing on the iron bars below. Meanwhile, Roman visits Sam to confide in him about the strange events on the bus. Even though Sam trusts Roman's ability to perceive these forces and acknowledges that Roman has faced many challenges, he still advises him against sharing these experiences with others. Their conversation is quickly interrupted by an officer who informs Sam about an emergency on the bridge. When Sam investigates the bridge, he finds out that all the other workers are dead. In the church, Roman and the townspeople discuss the recent bus incidents. Doe, who is very superstitious, blames Roman for being the only one to survive the crash, while others accuse Roman's mother of bringing a curse upon the community. Father Dan steps in to defend Roman and ease the tension. Roman silently leaves the church, only to be haunted once again by the ghosts of the bus passengers outside. At night, Roman talks to Maggie about the town's problems and how he is always held responsible for them. Maggie comforts him, saying that the people in town are unable to see his special abilities. When he brings up the earthquake as the cause of the bus accident, Maggie denies it, hinting at another reason for the tremors, but not disclosing it. During their conversation, Maggie comments that Roman is fortunate to have such abilities. Roman responds by mentioning his late best friend, who recently died in a car accident, implying that his supposed gift has never brought him any advantage. Roman then questions Maggie what the ghosts are after. In response, Maggie explains that unlike her, these souls are trapped, and if they attempt to move on but get stuck, they become hostile towards the living. The next morning, a mortician, Sophia, decides to leave town once the bridge reopens because she senses that something isn't right in the town. She recalls an unsettling encounter with Mrs. Foon, who seemed to come to life, prompting her to consider leaving the town with her son, Marcus. Meanwhile, Doe and his group capture Roman in an attempt to make him leave the town. Sheriff Sam intervenes just in time to arrest Doe and convinces his friends to either go home or face jail time. Later, Roman asks Sam for a ride. Sam agrees but mentions they need to do something first. He takes Roman to Sophia's place to gather information about someone who has passed away. When they arrive, Sophia informs them that the person's heart stopped suddenly, and Roman suggests that fear may have been the cause. Roman explains to Sam and Sophia the theory of ghosts getting stuck, as previously explained by Maggie. Suddenly, the lights start flickering, and Roman urges Sophia to leave the room with her son. As she exits, the door locks, trapping Sam and Roman inside. Unexpectedly, the lifeless body in the room comes to life and moves closer to Sam. The ghost suddenly attacks him, stabbing him in the neck with a medical device. Despite Roman's attempts to intervene, he can't stop Sam from being harmed. Sadly, Sam doesn't survive the encounter. Roman quickly leaves Sophia's place and heads to the Chieftain pub. There, Father Dan tries to stab his own hand with a knife, as in the beginning of the show. Roman intervenes, calming Father Dan and guiding him outside. He questions Father Dan about his recent experiences with supernatural sightings. As Father Dan acknowledges seeing strange things, screams erupt from inside the pub. Roman enters to find locals troubled by swarms of flies. Assessing the situation, Roman urges everyone to evacuate. He then encounters the ghostly figure of Marty and uses his unique ability, shown by changing his eye color to pacify Marty's spirit. Back at the church, Father Dan, Roman, Val, and two officers, Larry and Norm, gather to discuss their next steps. While everyone else agrees with Roman's theory about the ghosts, Val remains skeptical. They agree to evacuate the town, but Val opposes the idea. Despite this, the four of them decide to leave and inform the neighboring towns. As they drive out of town over the bridge to the neighboring town, Roman realizes that the ghosts have made the bridge appear normal, as an illusion. He tries to alert Larry, but it's too late. He ends up tumbling out of the car alone. Larry and his vehicle disappear on the bridge as they continue forward. Roman manages to stop another police car and warns them of the danger. They witness Larry's incident and ask Roman for an explanation. Roman explains that the ghosts have deceived them. Father Dan expresses gratitude for Roman's abilities, and they decide to stay and confront the ghosts since they are now trapped. In the next scene, Roman and Norm are observing the state of the bridge from the other end, where it is evident that the bridge has been damaged. Meanwhile, Billy, Val's brother, and his mate Chewie are sailing towards Portmore in Billy's boat, the Copperhead Rose. They've come to Portmore to fulfill a big order from Lambda, a high-end research company. This huge profitable deal is the main reason Billy has returned to the town. Along the way, their boat encounters something in the water. They notice several dead whales floating in the ocean. Next, as Val is getting her two daughters ready for school, she notices that one of her daughters, Isabel, is drawing a picture of Val's late brother, Trevor. Later, when Billy heads to Lambda to deliver the cargo, he runs into Val. She accuses him of telling her daughters about Trevor, but Billy denies it. As he drives away from the conversation, he glimpses Trevor in his rearview mirror. Despite this, he continues to Lambda, only to find out that they won't be paying him for the cargo. Frustrated, he decides to take his cargo elsewhere. As Billy plans to leave Portmore, Chewie informs him that the boat's engine has failed. Billy goes to the pub and asks Rodney, a local, to help get his boat fixed. However, Rodney refuses after overhearing Billy's financial troubles. A while later, Roman enters the pub and warns Billy about a ghost following him. Intrigued, Billy wants to learn more, but Rodney kicks Roman out, not wanting him around. Billy then meets Father Dan and begins discussing matters related to the afterlife. Father Dan quickly asks Billy if he's been seeing unusual things and reassures him that he's not alone in the experience. He advises Billy to trust Roman if they've been talking about these things. The next morning, Val and Norm approach Billy to ask him about Trevor's body, as Billy was the last person to see Trevor alive. Val informs him that Trevor's body washed up on the coast the previous night. Billy struggles to accept this news since Trevor passed away 10 years ago. He insists on seeing Trevor's body for himself. So, they head to Sophie's place, where Trevor's body is being kept. There, Val asks Billy to tell the truth about what happened to Trevor. Billy repeats what he said a decade ago, that Trevor was washed away overboard during a storm. Despite Billy's insistence, Val isn't ready to accept his explanation. Later that night, Billy is haunted by Trevor's ghost in the cabin of his boat. The next morning, Billy seeks out Roman's help to get rid of Trevor's spirit from the boat. Billy offers to take Roman out of town if he can help banish the ghost. Roman agrees to help, but warns that he cannot guarantee the results. Meanwhile, Chewie is trying to fix the boat's engine when his hand gets stuck in a small hole and passes away mysteriously. Billy and Roman visit Sophia's morgue to examine Trevor's body. Sophia hesitates, fearing Roman's presence due to a past incident where Sam died after encountering a deceased body. Despite Sophia's concerns, Billy insists on seeing Trevor's body, only to find that it has strangely transformed into that of a whale. They quickly make their way back to the boat because they think Trevor's spirit might be there, but what they find there is Chewie's lifeless body. After hearing about Chewie's death, Marilyn, Val's partner, invites Billy to their place to spend time with his nieces. Billy agrees and spends the evening with them. During the visit, Billy confides in Val about the true cause of Trevor's death. He explains that after a heavy drinking session with the crew, he convinced Trevor to get on the raft. However, a massive wave struck the boat, sending Trevor tumbling into the ocean, where he vanished. The next day, Val takes Norm to visit Old Man Goler, the previous owner of Billy's boat. Val suspects Goler might have had a hand in Chewie's death, believing he held a grudge over being scammed out of the boat by their father. However, when they arrive at Goler's home, they find him dead, hanging from a tree. Meanwhile, Goler's ghost begins haunting Billy's boat. Roman intervenes, commanding the ghost to leave, asserting that it can't influence Billy while he's around. After Roman banishes the spirit from the boat, Billy asks him to help raise the anchor. Back at Goler's place, Norm starts shooting wildly on Val, so she wrestles his gun from him. Later, when Norm explains that he started shooting at Goler when he witnessed his corpse come into motion, she reassures Norm that he wasn't shooting at Goler, but rather at her. On their way back, Val spots Goler's ghost and reacts by firing shots at Norm, accidentally injuring his arm. On the other hand, when Roman finishes raising the anchors, Billy leaves him behind at the dock, saying that he needs to protect the town from harm. However, Billy soon realizes that despite sailing into open waters, his ship inexplicably turns back and returns to Portmore after passing through an energy barrier. The scene rewinds 6 hours before the earthquake and bus accident, focusing on Dr. Landis Barker, a research scientist, as she heads to the office. Her day starts off rough when Roman accidentally spills coffee on her shirt. Things take a turn for the worse when her colleague Ryan startles her in the elevator, which stops suddenly, causing her distress due to her claustrophobia. Upon reaching the office, Burke, the director of Lambda Company, demands that she conduct an experiment ahead of schedule. Despite their objection, Burke directs them to carry out the experiment. So, Landis and her team decide to proceed with a test run first. However, the experiment goes amiss, causing the machine to malfunction. Following this, the earthquake also strikes the town. The combination of the experiment and the natural disaster results in an explosion in the lab, leading to the tragic deaths of many Lambda technicians and scientists trapped inside the machine room. Landis rushes to rescue her team from the machine room, but she's unable to do so because a gas explosion inside would endanger the environment and threaten their lives if they exit. Chloe pleads with Landis to open the door, but due to the danger, Landis cannot risk it, and tragically, her entire team perishes inside. After the tragic incident, Landis is haunted by the ghost of Chloe, a colleague who passed away in the explosion. She shares her feelings of guilt with another colleague, Paolo, who is leaving to check on his family. He reassures her that she did everything she could and departs. However, he is halted by the office guards, who declare a complete lockdown on the premises, preventing anyone from entering or leaving. As a result, Paolo moves in with Landis, residing in her apartment located within the business premises. Burke then instructs the security officer to inform Paolo that his wife is doing well. Ryan, affected by the illusions created by the ghosts, describes seeing moths, which greatly disturbs him. Despite Landis attributing his experience to stress from recent events, Ryan continues to struggle with the overwhelming presence of the moths. He frantically tries to fend them off as he moves through the office, eventually reaching the second floor. Landis spots a woman in a red dress passing by and calls out to her for help. However, the woman doesn't acknowledge or respond to Landis and continues walking past, while Landis remains focused on assisting Ryan. Conversely, the relentless swarm of moths persists, and one of them eventually crawls into his eye, making him jump from the building and end his life. Following the incident, Landis decides to investigate if others are also experiencing unusual phenomena. She records people reporting encounters with deceased individuals and seeking help from them. After gathering evidence, she discusses her findings with Paolo, suggesting that the earthquake and collider experiment may have released antimatter, causing the apparitions. Landis also admits to experiencing nightmares and seeing the dead. Paolo, however, remains skeptical and shares his own nightmares about his wife and plant monsters. They therefore decide to investigate further and pinpoint the cause by monitoring air quality. Without informing Burke, they conduct the experiment in the machine room where their colleagues perished. While Paolo remains outside to watch after Landis and use a camera to document and monitor her experience, Landis accepts to be alone in the room with the 3 dead bodies. Shortly after, Chloe's ghost troubles Landis, seeking revenge for not saving her from the explosion. The ghost then tumbles over a standing light, causing Landis to have a panic attack and pass out. Paolo rushes in to help her. Landis, connected to numerous wires, expects to gather useful data, but discovers nothing. Although her vital signs are elevated, her brain waves appear flat, resembling unconsciousness. Paolo believes she is experiencing hallucinations, but she insists otherwise, mentioning her encounter with Chloe in the elevator was real. She recognizes that the current circumstance reminds her of her childhood fear of being locked up in the basement by her siblings for fun. Later, as she is waiting for the elevator, she encounters the same silent woman from Ryan's incident. She makes an effort to speak with the woman, but she stays silent to Landis. To her horrifying experience, the woman passes through the closed elevator doors without uttering a word. While discussing the mysterious woman, Landis and Paolo receive a message from the engineering department, attributing the town's earthquake to their experiment. The explosion was caused by a malfunction affecting over 50 superconducting magnets, with the epicenter located in front of the accelerator. Concerned, Landis heads to her office, where Burke questions her about interviewing the employees. In response, she explains that she was only trying to investigate if there might be a connection between the pattern of the phenomena and the accelerator. Burke then attempts to hold Landis responsible for the earthquake, emphasizing her role as the expert and the need to make correct decisions. Burke returns to his office and experiences a paranormal event of his own. While watching calming surfing videos, he is suddenly engulfed by a wave that appears in his workspace. Meanwhile, Landis and Paolo return to the machine room, where Paolo doesn't see Chloe, but Landis encounters her once again. Another wire shot is fired, causing the ghostly figure to disappear. They realize that Landis' hallucinations end when the flash occurs. They then restore power to the room and proceed to inform Burke, only to find his lifeless body. This unfortunate event leads to Landis becoming the new director of the company. Now in charge, she directs Paolo to keep the reason behind the earthquake under wraps and hold off on discussing the power supply until they receive updates from Seattle. Although Paolo expresses his disappointment with her decision, she urges him to join the team before leaving the workplace. She informs the office's security officer about Burke's demise and instructs him to end the lockdown, allowing Paolo to reunite with his spouse Carla, who works as a bartender at the Chieftain pub. When they reunite, Carla questions him about why he didn't get in touch with her. Paolo then explains that the officers claimed they stopped outside to check on her, revealing they lied about doing so earlier. Meanwhile, feeling tense and needing distraction, Landis seeks comfort in the company of Billy and gets engaged in intimacy as the darkness surrounds them. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave 1,000 likes or 100 comments if you'd like us to continue part 2. Thank you.